So anyway, good morning to all of you. I hope you're all doing well. I'm just going to look at chat. Okay. People are in the library. Okay. Oh, Cindy's in the split library. That's why she's wearing a mask. I'm like, okay, what's going on? And I'll just let you all know that Cindy and I are working on planning because we're very positive about 2021, that we're going to be able to all travel and meet up and catch up and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm not going to take any more of your time. Looks like most people are in, and I'm going to turn it over to our two fabulous reinvention coaches who are reinventing themselves right after the storm up where you guys are. In nature, I just want you all to prepare. There will be times when I'm probably not even going to be able to be here because I'm sure that they're saying that in the Gulf, this is like the most active year ever. And I haven't even spent a year here yet. So I'm sure we are going to be hit by all kinds of horrible hurricanes or whatever. So I'm going to turn it over to the hurricane girls, Dana and Wendy.
Welcome, everyone. Yeah, we got really slammed by Isaiah's here in Connecticut. We actually have more power outages here than we did in Hurricane Sandy. And the hurricane didn't even hit us. We just got really the winds for the most part. And so hopefully, knock on wood, we will have, Dana doesn't have power at her home, but she does in her office. So hopefully her internet's gonna hold out, and I'm on my cell phone's mobile hotspot to be with you today because I do have power but no internet. So hopefully we won't be disrupted by that.
Technology will prevail.
That's right. We'll just carry on because that's what we do on Positive Mornings. We carry on. And that brings me to today's topic. We've noticed, Dana and I, with our clients, in our groups, in our families, with our friends, that as the summer is drawing to a close and hurricanes are hitting, we've certainly experienced a lot of this thing we're going to talk about today here in Connecticut this week, and schools are opening or not opening, and kids are going back to college or not going back to college and figuring out what they want to do with their lives, and politics in our country is, if it's even possible, amping up over and over again. We're noticing a new spike in anxiety. And so if you are feeling it at all, or if the people around you are feeling it at all, you are not alone. We're kind of reaching a new level of, okay, this is the long haul we're in with this pandemic. And the long haul is looking a little different now than we expected it to look a few months ago. And so for all of you, we wanted to talk today about anxiety in a different way than we've done it before. We are going to, if you're anxious, I'll tell you right off the bat, we are going to give you some tools and a meditation that you can use to help quell your anxiety. But the conversation we want to have today is really about what your defaults in anxiety are and what that means to you, and what the defaults of the people around you in anxiety are and what that means to them. Because understanding that is going to give you a foundation to help you navigate these anxious times. So I'm going to hand it over to Dana, and we'll carry on.
All right. So actually, to start off, as we're talking, go ahead and put in the chat, just kind of on a scale of 1 to 5, where you're feeling on your anxiety meter this morning. 1 is I'm very, very chill, and 5 is I'm feeling really anxious. And as Wendy said, you know, we're sensing that the anxiety kind of overall is spiking and is definitely increasing. And I want to set the stage too to share that about 1/3 of US Americans are actually diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, and about half of those that are diagnosed are female. So if you have an anxiety disorder, just know that you're not alone. And what we're talking about today isn't an anxiety disorder, but rather that everyday anxiety that so many of us feel and that we kind of go in and out of like a roller coaster. And we spoke about emotional contagion. Anxiety is one of the most contagious emotions. And I'm sure all of you have experienced this, where you walk into a room, whether it's at home or perhaps it's in the office. You may be feeling really good and really chill, and somebody around you comes into that room that is so friggin' anxious that everybody, all of a sudden feels really, really tense. And it is absolutely contagious. I know for myself, on a personal note, my husband is very anxious lately, and I just feel the anxiety vibes in bed. Like I just feel his anxiety. I hear the breath, and then I'm anxious in bed, and then we're both anxious in bed, and we're feeding off of each other. So anxiety is a very, very contagious emotion. But the good news is calm is also contagious. So as we talk about anxiety today, we talk about some of the things that you can do. Just know that when you breathe, when you're more calm, that also is contagious. And then that also has that wonderful positive loop of making everybody else more calm. So let me just kind of look in the chat here and see where everybody is feeling today. So we have the whole spectrum, as can be expected, right? So as Wendy mentioned, we're going to talk about how do we react when we're in anxiety mode. And we all have these kind of default patterns, this kind of place that we go to. And what I'll be talking about today is underfunctioners and overfunctioners. And these terms are kind of brought to us by Harriet Lerner in her book, Dance with Connection. So she talks about the overfunctioners, those people that when they're anxious, they go into overfunctioning mode. They hop into action. I'm definitely this one too. Hop into action. They get a little bit controlling. They're ready to just kind of conquer everything. They keep busy. Usually they're the people that kind of want to come to the rescue and give advice. They may err on the side of kind of going into other people's business and just getting into that mode of, I've got it, don't worry. And they get into action mode so much that they oftentimes don't go inward. That's the typical kind of definition of an overfunctioner. And I know for one, that's definitely where I go. The underfunctioners are those that usually default to kind of retreating, letting themselves shut down a little bit to find some peace. Usually they're pretty happy to let somebody else take control. And they're pretty happy to just kind of say, you know what, I'm going to just kind of shut down here. I'm going to deal with this thing later. So the overfunctioners are usually labeled as kind of controlling, and the underfunctioners are usually labeled, and this is the outside perception, right, as being somebody who maybe is a little less responsible, maybe they're a little more fragile. And so there's labels that we perceive with people when they go into their respective mode. Now, the thing I want to stress is the default pattern that we go into is the behaviors that we exhibit when we're anxious. It's not who we are. So we have to be really careful with that, because a lot of times, again, we tend to want to label other people. We tend to label ourselves. This is just a pattern that we go into when we're anxious. And so what we're going to talk about today is, what are your patterns? And to recognize the patterns of the people that are around you, right? And then what is helpful to you when you go into your default pattern. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go into groups like we have. I think we've all been enjoying that recently. So we're going to go into conversation groups. And the question that you're going to answer is, what is that default pattern that you usually go into? And when you're in that place, what is most helpful to you? How can people around you be of most help to you in such a way to ease your anxiety and to be most helpful? So what is your default pattern, and what will be helpful to you? And I think what will be interesting about this is, again, everybody has different patterns. So we're going to be hearing what is helpful to the people that are overfunctioners and to the people that tend to be underfunctioners, right? What is helpful? And Wendy, it looks like you had something to say.
Yeah, before we break into groups, I just want to make it really, really clear. One of these is not good or bad, right? There are neither of these is the good one to be or the bad one to be. They both are a default that kind of makes you actually more anxious and can spread that anxious contagion. And I'll tell you just a quick little snippet. In my household, we are split down the middle. My daughter and I are overfunctioners. when we are anxious, and Lila is 19, and so and she's like a ball of fire anyway, so like that anxious energy, holy cow, she's doing 5 million things at once, and she's talking on the phone at the top of her lungs while she's doing it, and the whole house like, oh, and I have lists, and we move into that mode, and we're insanely productive, but we don't recognize what we do to the rest of the house. My husband and my son, really intelligent, really productive humans, they can't handle that energy, especially when they're anxious, and they both go to sleep. And early on in my marriage, this was a huge issue, because when I was under the gun and I needed Paul's support, he would take a day-long nap. And we were like this with one another. So it's really important as you're going into these groups, wherever you fall and wherever the people in your household fall, no judgment, neither of these is good or bad. It's just a default pattern. And the more you recognize your own and the patterns of other people, the more likely you are to be able to use that to everybody's advantage rather than disadvantage.
I love that you brought that up too, Wendy, because I think the words overfunctioner, underfunctioner doesn't really serve the conversation well. It just happens to be how it was classified from a psychologist, and that's been, kind of the terminology used. I don't personally love those terms, right? Because you're right, you tend to think good or bad, and nothing is good or bad here. So it's just where we tend to default. So at this point, what we'll do is we'll put you into groups. Again, the questions you're going to answer are, what is your default pattern? And how is that showing up for you? What is it that you tend to get busy doing? Or what is it that you tend to find peace, and where you go, right? What does that look like for you? And what is most helpful to you? So let's see how long we're going to give each other for the conversation. So should we say we'll be in the room for 15 minutes?
Yeah, I think 15 minutes. We want you guys to really dive in.
Yep. And then we'll come back and we'll open up the conversation back to the room as a whole.
See you in a bit.
So welcome back, everybody, and hope you found that conversation to be insightful. What we'd love to do is, of course, as always, welcome your voices into the room, and we'd love for you to reflect on what did you find in your conversations is helpful to those of you that kind of fall into that over-functioning category and the under-functioning category, or if you're somewhere in between, wherever it is for you. What did you find helpful? And what did you learn from the insights of other people? And as always, put your thoughts in the chat and put me in there if you'd like to chime in as to what you discovered in the conversation.
Even after all these months, it takes a couple of minutes for people to put
There
that
we go.
in the
All
chat.
right, go to me with Robin.
Hi. This is
Hey,
me.
Robin, how are you?
Just rolled out of bed.
This says everybody mostly was over functioners. That's so funny.
Yeah. Oh, is that? Yeah.
That's Elizabeth.
Quite
I
often
just-
both, Karen says.
Robin, what do you have for us?
Well, I was just going to say that I appreciate the topic, because I was just thinking about this weekend about how I'm kind of sick of feeling anxious about whether I have COVID or someone has COVID or I got COVID or did I get COVID from that person? After doing so little, like so little for so long, I was one of those people who did pretty much nothing. I've been doing a lot of social distance visits, a lot for my, life lately. And I don't know. I have a friend, Amy, who's on here, who has said, like, she's what I heard her say is like, she's just not going to worry about it. And I heard in our group too, Linda saying that she doesn't really worry about that much. I don't know if I'm getting that right. But, it occurred to me that even despite that, I grew up with a really, really anxious mother. Like, I feel like in utero, I was just like bathed in anxiety, like totally. And then just for the 10 years that I was with her before she died, she was just so anxious. And so it's, it's in the cells, it's in the DNA. And, but I still have a choice. And so I just started to think this morning after, hearing from everybody in my group who's so awesome, that, you know, I can choose not to be worried about these things. I could try and choose, and I could choose not to worry and just to use my faith and my meditation and connection to know that I'm safe and everything's okay.
Beautiful,
So,
Robin. You know, it's so interesting. I almost feel like if there's a theme to everything we talk about in Positive Mornings, it's what you just tapped into is this notion of choice, right? That at any moment we can be intentional to choose what to focus on, to choose who we want to be, to choose how we want to react in a situation. A lot of it is reminding ourselves, right? Reminding ourselves that, wait a minute, I am so wound up and so anxious. Wait a minute, what do I want to choose to focus on? How do I want to choose to show up, right? And it's so powerful because this stuff, it's all a practice. It's all a practice. It's not anything that we're going to change overnight. We need to be intentional about practicing it all the time. Yeah, really powerful.
Beth.
Yeah, thank you, Robin.
Good morning.
Good morning, Beth.
With Robin. So I really want to just share and support her because, you know, that is how I have chosen to go about my life. You know, I did develop anxiety about 4 or 5 years after my husband was killed. And it was really centered around being an only parent and just wanting to fix everything and figuring it all out before it actually happened. And I got myself, and I didn't know I was doing all of that, but I got myself so overwhelmed because I've always been an over functioner, an overachiever, a planner, a fixer, you know, that's just my nature. But I got the, you know, I was still in grief therapy. I got the help that I needed from, you know, a psychiatrist, and I did what I needed to do. I learned the tools, and I've found that I think I still am an over functioner, but I've learned how to keep it in check. My daughter now, almost 22, has anxiety, and I'm sure that probably stemmed from me being very open with my children about having anxiety. But I try and keep things very level and calm with her, and, you know, talk her off the ledge as often as possible. But I think Robin's point is so spot on about, I mean, not everybody has a choice, right? Sometimes it's just in your makeup and you have anxiety and it is what it is, but we get in our heads, and the COVID thing has certainly caused a lot of us anxiety. So, I really I support Robin in that. And I think that's a great thing for us all to just kind of sit with.
Thank you, Beth. Courtney.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. We all came up with kind of hybrids, but I think everyone's anxiety is completely spiked, and everyone seems to have, in my group, serious, relatable anxiety over real things, whether it's the news of looting in Chicago or no electricity in Connecticut, and partners, no partners, companionship, no companionship. It doesn't seem like anything is really the answer. And I was like, yes, my overfunctioning self is going to quickly talk you through how to avoid the news as a journalist. Like, turn that TV off. And then I want to say unplug, but I don't want to say it to Andrea, who was unplugged without any choice. You know, she's in her car with the sun streaming in, trying to get to a house with her husband being freaking annoying. And Andrea, you can talk about that more than I can, but I was like, oh my God, all I want to do is get her out of that car, you know, and give everyone a hug, and none of us can give each other a hug. And so the crying, the need for a hug, the need for touch, the need for, you know, the world being scary, which is all legitimate, you know, it puts me into the, like, I want to take a nap, but I'm an overachiever, so I'm not going to. I'm going to go out in the world and do my thing safely. But I just wanted to say, like, I think the one thing is we'd all like to meditate through this, but it's really freaking hard. Everyone's getting really, really fucking tested, excuse my French.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that, like, everyone is fighting a battle right now. That's how I feel. And yes, there's stuff that we can do, but we can also like shake our fists at the gods.
You know, you bring up a really good point, Courtney. All of our emotions are valid right now. I just spent part of this weekend talking my daughter off the ledge, and as much as she gets anxious, she's a very emotionally intelligent kid, and so she feels this responsibility to be emotionally intelligent, to be sane, to do the right thing, to get it right, to not, we're all human. We're not on this planet to be Gandhi or the Dalai Lama. Maybe some of you are, most of us are not. Okay, most of us are on this planet to live our lives as fully and as most joyfully as we can. That's why we're here, with purpose and meaning. And in order to do that, it is okay. It is necessary to be human, to shake your fists at the gods, to be angry, to occasionally be unreasonable. We don't have to carry this weight of, I feel it too, but because I'm empathetic, I have to carry the weight for everyone around me as well. It is okay for all of us to realize that, me too, I can feel it too, and I can help the people around me, right? To recognize, as Courtney says, everyone is being tested right now. You too. Give yourself permission to feel it and not get it right. And we have some me's, so I don't want to keep rattling on. Carol.
Oh, Wendy, thank you so much for saying that, because I had a really tough week. I had my family vacation that I do every year, and it's like the 1 week we all look forward to, and I was just so excited about it, but it did not turn out well. I had a very intense family drama with two of my sisters, and it also included 2 of my nieces. I got guilted in because I have a lot of family drama, and so I got my own house, and I invited one of my nieces to stay with me. My sister was so mad at me that I didn't invite her kids, so I get guilted into inviting them. I thought I was doing the right thing, then letting them sleep in the morning, and went to breakfast with one of my nieces, and my sister, you would have thought I committed murder. It was like, how dare you not invite them? And then all this old stuff came out, and she literally just, I mean, it was like I was in a car accident. I was explaining it. My whole body was shaking, and I just was, I was numb, when normally I'm an over functioner. Like, you know, if I have anxiety or stress, I couldn't even move. I couldn't even do anything. And my whole body just shut down. And so, and now we're not even speaking. And I tried to reply the way, because I meditate every morning, and I was mad at myself that, you know, siblings can push those buttons, and I didn't react the way I would normally be, where like, take a deep breath, be that better person. 2 wrongs don't make a right. And I was so mad at myself for getting so angry back at her. And I'm like, damn, I have more work to do, you know? So anyway, and it's still lingering, and we haven't spoken, and just trying to find the right way to handle this. But yeah, so we don't always get it right.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Carol. We don't. And the more of this kind of work that we do, the more we can recognize where, I didn't show up the way that I wanted to there. What can I do next time to give myself some space? And you can challenge yourself to say, was anger the appropriate response? Because sometimes it is. Okay, you are not meant to always be calm. Sometimes anger is the appropriate response. It's okay, right? So giving ourselves permission to feel the full range of emotions is really important in moving forward in these times. And Andrea had a me. I want to make sure that before we move on to our tool, we can hear from her, even though we can't see you today, Andrea.
You can't? No, I'm here.
Oh, wait.
There she is.
Oh, there you are.
I'm in my car.
I see you now.
I just couldn't not be here. I'm like, I had to make coffee. So our Walgreens parking lot in Chappaqua has emergency Wi-Fi that you have to log into, except it's like 100 degrees. So today I'm finally going to a friend's house inside. She's not there because I just have to take my chance because I have a bill to pay. I just can't. I have a Zoom funeral tomorrow. My cousin died of cancer this week on top of it all. We didn't know she was sick. I mean, it's just been, so I don't have much to say other than you guys are the most, I literally this morning woke up and said, I got to get here. So Lesley, Wendy, and Dana, like what you've done is just like, this is more important to me than anything else. But it's just literally the most surreal time. I have a very moody husband who's the greatest guy in the world, and we've raised a great family, but he doesn't like, he gets mad at inanimate objects. The stove is clicking, the this is that, but now he's just angry. I mean, I haven't spoken to him since Saturday night, and that's not like us. You know what I mean? He's just in a bad mood. And like, I don't know, unfunctioning. It's just more a matter of just like, I guess I'm the kind of person that just make it happen. You know what I mean? Like I woke up this morning, I had to wrap my leg in bandages because of my lymphedema. I had to be out to have the call, and you just make it happen. But he's not like that. And when you said about your husband going to sleep, I mean, that just made me feel good, sorry. Because it's just like, but I realize I wake up in the morning and my mood is determined by people around me. So as much as people that are lonely are sad, sometimes it must sound really nice to be alone once in a while. And the other thing I found fascinating was people talking about kids with anxiety. My 28-year-old daughter moved home because after hearing these stories from someone, Courtney, I think, about drug addicts in the streets back in New York City, like it was never like that for years. I'm happy she's home, but she has diagnosed anxiety on medication and the whole, she's fine, but she has definitely diagnosed versus most of us have it and aren't diagnosed. And she's functioning better than anybody right now. She's so happy. She's kind of an introvert. She kind of likes not having to have to make believe that she has to go do things she doesn't really want to do. She's a list maker. Has 12 side gigs and tutoring and making money, and she's functioning higher than anyone. So crazy time. So thank you, everybody.
Crazy time.
Oh, and I might not be at camp tomorrow because I have to go to a Zoom funeral. Next.
It'll be recorded.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing that, Andrea. And you know what,
you.
you're right. So much of the time our mood is determined by the moods of the people around us. And that's okay too. That is that emotional contagion. We don't want you to carry the burden of having to get it right. And though, when you tap into the tools that you're learning here on Positive Morning more and more often, you become capable of sometimes when you're not depleted or when you're less depleted, being able to shift that energy, not just for yourself, but then the contagion goes the other way and you can shift the energy of the people around you.
Oh, I have to tell you one more good thing. We had a FaceTime 6-year-old birthday party from Nadav, my 6-year-old grandson who's in Israel. We sat in this parking lot, the three of us in the car the other morning. And yesterday I tried to call from my house, see if it worked, and it didn't. So my texts are going through a little. My daughter texted me and she said, Nadav said, come on, Grandma, just go back to your car. So I got back in the car and I called him from the parking lot yesterday. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, survivors.
Yes.
Tap into this group, and tapping in is actually the tool that I want to talk to you about. So for each of you, and I'm going to give you just a moment to think about it now, but take this on as some homework. For each of you, you have a power source. Okay, you may have multiple power sources. It's important to define what they are. For some of you, it may be God or the universe or faith. It might be trust in your own capability. It might be evidence from your survival of the past. It may be certain people in your life who are your community, who are your go-to. It might be a practice like yoga or exercise or meditation. For each of you, you have a primary power source and you have other power sources. So take some time to list for yourselves what they are. And then in these moments of anxiety, of anxious feelings, or just anxious energy that's coming off of you or the people around you, here's the tool part. You're going to start with your breath because we always start by breathing. Okay. It is the breath that changes the chemistry in your body that allows you to do the other things. Okay. So you have to start with the breathing. Otherwise, your body's not going to let you use the tools. All right. And I always recommend that if you're anxious, start with an exhale because you're probably holding your breath. Okay. And if you want to add some noise to it, all the better. Okay. Start with the exhale. That will bring the natural inhale. Take a couple of deep breaths and then use your own name. There's a whole psychology behind this that we don't have time to get into today, but speak to yourself by name. Wendy, you've got this. Plug into, and then think about your power source. Okay. So it's start with an exhale. Take a couple of deep breaths following that. Use your own name. Wendy, you've got this. Plug into, and then whatever your power source is. And we're going to do a little meditation on power source. So get yourself comfortable. You had a couple of breaths. I saw you all do that exhale with me. That's a great place to start our meditation. Close your eyes. If you're more comfortable, you can turn off your video. But this particular meditation has a little visioning in it, so eyes closed is useful for this one. Close your eyes and start to pay attention to your breath. Just notice how it comes in and out of your body. This is a safe space that we're in together. The energy here is an energy of support and belonging and love. There is nothing that you need to do in this moment other than be present for yourself and here with us. I want you to bring to your mind's eye an image of your power source. If you haven't given it much thought yet, that's fine. Whatever one pops to mind. Just bring the image of that power source. It may be the people who have passed in your lives who you know are angels that hold you up. It may be God or the universe. It may be your own tenacity and spirit. It may be the culmination of your experiences or anything else. Bring an image. Doesn't have to be a literal one. Whatever comes to your mind of your power source. And now somehow, I want you to formulate this image into an actual battery, a source of power. Turn your power source into a battery for yourself. It can look in whatever fantastical or literal way comes to mind for you. Doesn't need to be anything other than what it is. And now imagine yourself holding this enormous plug and use your name and say, your name, I can plug into this power source whenever I need it. It's mine. It's always here for me. Use your name again and say, you've got this. And I'd like you to bring your attention back to your breath. As you do, notice any sense of peace and calm that you have that you want to carry back with you, any sense of power that you have that you want to carry back with you. Allow that to buoy you. As you bring your attention to my voice, and as I count to 5, we'll open our eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Welcome back, and we're on to Lesley.
Hi guys, that was great. That is, at least I know I'm not alone. I always thought that was my issue. I definitely overfunction, and I've learned a little bit about how to handle it. But yes, my daughter has 90% of that, and then my son and my husband definitely shut down. So anyway, thank you guys for joining. I want to do our little giveaway. We're going to give away, Marissa, what are we doing? 4 today? I think we're doing 4 gifts. Is that right? From Codex. About that. It's too close. Covey, Codex. It's too many COs. Anyway, we have 4 giveaway travel packs from Codex. And again, I just want to tell you a little bit about Codex. Codex was created by Barb Paldis, and she came on as one of our sponsors at God, I'm tongue-tied. Savannah. And it's just a beautiful product. It's all naturally made. As you guys know, I'm very interested in sustainability. What I love is the packaging sustainable. She came at it from the science angle. It's all made in these Irish labs that are completely clean. Everything is clean about it. And it's called the Bia Collection, and you get all the little travel items that you're going to need. And it's just a wonderful product. I've been using it for a long time, and I recommend it to everybody. It's not a fortune. It's really affordable and very beautiful, and just exactly what you need. There's a cleanser, there's an oil, there's an under eye, which is fantastic. And you don't, what I love is when you wake up in the morning, you don't feel like you have to take it off, which is what I find with a lot of other products. And Marissa will put the link to the interview with Barb in the chat box, so you can listen to it. We did a podcast with her. We did a coffee and conversation. And then we also have a great DIY beauty event coming up with the formulator from her, who's in Ireland, and we're going to do that in September. So we'll put a link to that as well. And she's going to do DIY beauty from your garden, or from things that you can make at home, because again, that's what she does. So anyway, let's give away those 3, and then also be sure to share your email or LinkedIn URL or
it's
both
9 o'clock.
in the sheet that Marissa has shared with us. It's in the chat earlier on. We'll have her put it up again. And if you won before, you won't be in the drawing for this one. So we put in just people who have not won before. So we're going to get 4 of these. And they're just wonderful. You're going to love these. When you get to traveling again, you're going to love these. Even if you're not traveling, you can use them. They're fantastic. Kathy Tully.
Hey.
Yay! All right, cool. They're really lovely products. You will love them. And talk about, relaxing. Sarah Linehan, fantastic.
Sarah.
I can't wait for us all to get together and do self-care. Heloise, all right. Heloise, it up. I think she's won things before, not this one, but other things. She's a lucky winner, it seems like. I know that name comes up. Colleen McHugh.
All right, Colleen.
Great, awesome. So Marissa will give your emails to Codex, and they will send that out to you. And I want to tell you we have a bunch of things coming in September. We took a little break in August because I know you guys are busy and doing things with family, and you want to have some time off, which is great. So our webinars will pick up again. Take a look. at the letter from Lesley that comes to you on Fridays. If you are not a member of CoveyClub, check out a link to our subscribe letter. Then you'll know everything that's going on. It's at CoveyClub.com. You will find it all there. Come join us. It's inexpensive to join. It's only 99 bucks, and you get into the Covey Connect app. But I'll just give you a couple of names. We've got a lot to prepare you for in September. How to create a 5-star resume and make yourself shine with Linda Spiegel, who's a job search coach and resume writer. I'm really excited about that. A talk about middle essence, a new way to look at this most exciting part of life. And that's with Barbara Waxman, who actually, she's a writer and a gerontologist. And she coined the phrase middle essence, which is what we're all going through. And then one for the kids, which is called Post-Pandemic, The Kids Are Not Okay, What You Need to Know and what you need to know and do for your children and your own mental health. And that will be with Paula Prentice, who's a licensed social worker, and she deals in this area. She's a social worker and a wellness coach. And then negotiating strategies, get what you want while being yourself. And that's with Jan D'Alessandro, an attorney and a president of Blue Jay Strategies. And she's going to give us tips on negotiating everything from how to deal for a raise to promotion to a divorce and to get the best out of your kids. So thank you all for being here. Check out all the stuff coming up. It will start up again heavy in September. We're going to get you ready for getting back. Thank you all for joining, and take care.